ABS-CBN, TV Patrol, Inquirer.net, and Radyo Inquirer, and naiwan ko yung iPad ko doon, pero meron akong video copy ng, I think it was an ABS news report. All state here show this document that was produced by your office, and I will put on record. Impeachment panel spokesman Miro Kimbo said that based on the records from the Land Registration Authority, Corona and his family have 45 properties, houses and condo units. This is the effect of your search, which you refused to even qualify in any way just because you do not want to be accused of bias. Ito po yung result nun. Further, Kimbo says that in a letter to Iloilo Representative Neil Tupas, I really do not want to comment on the merits, but there are already the certificate of titles and condominium certificates, referring again to the 45 properties. That is the effect, Mr. President. Mr. President, I point this out again because this goes down in our journal. This is how future impeachment cases will be conducted. May I ask, Mr. President, to the witness, who, after you produce this letter, well, I suppose this letter was sent to the office of Congressman Tupas, or it was picked up from your office?
I think it was delivered, Your Honor.
Delivered?
By my staff, Your Honor.
To whom? Would you know?
To the office of Congressman Tupas, Your Honor.
And to the spokespersons also, because I have to also put on record many times the prosecutors who are present themselves in court hide behind the cloak of they differentiate themselves from the statements being made by the spokesperson, and I for one consider them one and the same. But the truth of the matter is the records show that the spokesperson used the document that came from you. And that is why I would like to see that you acknowledge the effect of the statements you made. Because the statements you made here in court, the two opposing panels had easily, it appears to me, easily agreed that from 45, it is down to more than a half. More than a half of the documents you certified were thrown out. You could have easily done that. Now let me move to another point. In response to Senator Marcos' query, kung ginagamit nyo pa ho yung computer, ang sagot nyo, you've disabled it because wala pa hong rules. And when you were asked what are these rules, you said that the rules would require some degree of responsibility from the requester para hindi maabuso. Something to that effect.
Yes, Your Honor.
What about the responsibility of the issuer? Don't you think the rules should also govern the issuing agency?
Yes, it should, Your Honor.
Well, then, I think you can now start implementing that, because from your testimony, it does not seem to appear that you acknowledge that there is some sense of responsibility that must come from your office with respect to issuing
Yes, sir.
these certifications.
That is why we're coming up with the rules, Your Honor.
That is not what you told Senator Marcos. You simply told Senator Marcos yung mga nagre-request. Ang gusto rin niyang mailisip sa inyo is that meron din basihan yung bakit din kayo naglalabas.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I think this is my final question. Mr. President, the witness also stated that the letter is a result of a request, and the letter is in fact dated January 10. So alam natin that impeachment had commenced, no? So when this document was released in January 10, as far as you know, this was the only time that the prosecution became aware of these properties.
I wouldn't know, Your Honor.
You wouldn't know. May I just ask prosecution, would this be the first time that the prosecution had become aware of the supposedly 45 properties, which is now stipulated?
The whole 45. That was the only time. But before that, Your Honor, we already have some documents with respect to the other properties. In January 3, we released the Bellagio TCTs and other documents. And at the time that the document, at least the 45 properties were released, the document, we already have in our possession some documents with respect to the other properties,
With the
condominiums,
permission
land.
of the lady senator from Taguig, may I ask this from the Chief Prosecution Counsel? When you made the call to Attorney Diaz, according to him, you made the call. Did you specify to him the area where the search ought to be made regarding real estate property of the respondent, Chief Justice Corona and his wife?
I did not, Your Honor. Our presumption is it's the entire country.
The entire country?
Yes, that was what I was thinking when I made that request.
And you did not specify that it was limited to Metro Manila.
We did not, Your Honor.
But when he submitted his listing, you did not ask him to conduct further search out in the provinces, especially in his home province of Batangas?
No more, Your Honor, because as I said, our presumption is that it's a central system.
You were satisfied already with the quantum of alleged titles of real estate found to be the property of the respondent Chief Justice?
With respect to the, I cannot answer that, Your Honor. But my presumption is that it's already a nationwide search because
That was enough for the prosecution.
at the time that was enough, Your Honor.
You were no longer interested if indeed he has amassed other properties located in this province of Batangas.
We were still interested, Your Honor, because on subsequent to that, and it was testified on already by the witness, the prosecution wrote a letter, and this was signed by two members of the prosecution team.
But what was the result of that request of the other members of the prosecution?
Can I have that?
Did they pursue that request after you got the number of 45 alleged real property of the respondent in Metro Manila?
This is the letter dated 12 January 2012, Your Honor. And the prosecution here, signed by two members of the panel, was just asking for certified true copies. So
Of titles?
only titles, and there was no follow-up on the nationwide search.
And did they state where the search ought to be made?
No. No, Your Honor.
They did not say that it's confined to Metro Manila.
No, they did not. We did not.
And when you received the information, the list from the LRA covering alleged 45 titles, you were satisfied already that that was enough. Although you wanted to pin down the respondent with respect to assets not included in his SAL-N.
At the time, we were satisfied, Your Honor.
At that time, and
Yes.
how about now?
Now we are.
Are you satisfied?
Now that we know that it's not nationwide, it's just confined to Metro Manila, then
You want
to put it bluntly, we're not satisfied.
Do you want to search further? It's too late. We're about to.
I know, we know that,
you
Your
have
Honor.
closed your evidence.
We know that.
Yeah.
We have already rested our case.
Anyway,
Mr.
do
President.
you have any further question from this witness?
Mr. President, I would like to finish my questions.
Yes, please. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, it is okay, Mr. President. So, Mr. Witness, it appears now that you could also be accused of bias by the prosecution that you limited your search to Metro Manila, when in fact there may be other properties elsewhere. Is that not correct?
They may, Your Honor.
That's what I'm saying, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, I am simply trying to drive home my point that when you indicate the parameters of your search, such as the area of your search, if there are any timelines, if there are any names that you specifically punched in, you are not biased. You are simply diligent. And that is what you are expected to be.
Yes, Your Honor. I
just wanted to be sure that my statement was noted. Final question is as a follow-up to the response of prosecution. So when the letter of LRA administrator was received on January 10 indicating the 45 properties, the prosecution, and for that matter, the congressmen and congresswomen who filed the impeachment complaint were not aware of these properties. And I will assume that the awareness, my statement is directed to the prosecution. The prosecution and the congressman who signed the impeachment were not aware of these properties. And the information they had was simply as indicated in the complaint, and my complaint is on the table, but I looked at it before I stood up, and it says suspected of having certain properties, and then there was a property identified in Taguig. Nothing in any, by any imagination at the magnitude of the 45 properties indicated here.
On January 10, when we received that letter, we're not aware of all the properties listed, including the canceled properties, but we already have in our possession most of the properties that we introduced as evidence and admitted by this honorable tribunal, meaning the condominiums, the two properties sold in 2010. We already had documents in our possession on January 10.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Session suspended for 1 minute. I will be just 1 minute.